photography by definition is an invasive act, especially if you're after not just the pot shot or the selfie or the various kinds of popular elements within photography, or if you're after looking at stuff on a deeper level and looking at it with a certain kind of obsession, coming to in order for you to come to the, if you will, the truth of the matter. Or if not the truth, the absolute truth of the matter, at least the beauty of the seeking of the truth of some matter. I use my photography for discovery. Usually I'm interested in discovering what's real about life, and I use the camera as an instrument of interrogation, visual, and invasion, actual, because being a photographer gives you a certain amount of license to access places. You know. Back in the World War II, when I was a child, a little bit beyond that, I used to watch or listen to Friday night fights. It was then that Joe Louis, the great fighter, was allowed to fight as a black man and then allowed to be victorious. If we remember the history of boxing, he was victorious against one of the Master Reich, a fellow named Max Schmeling, and he beat him twice. And we, on the American left, with the liberty in mind that it meant to beat the Nazi tyrannists, meant that Joe Louis was our liberator, a black man, the first of the black man to liberate white people from white people. I'm looking for the same thing that you're looking for, which is, if you're looking for that at all, which is I'm looking for the soul. And even though the man uses his gloves in a very, very officious way, he works towards his matters of meaning in order to emancipate his soul. In the boxer's case, it's through a sense of victory, a sense of triumph. In the ordinary person's way of emancipating their soul, it's through their work or their business, their love affairs, their church, their walk through the woods. But in the boxers, it's a very specific thing. And they emancipate their soul also through training, and they train not only for strength and for agility, but for punishment. Because in order to win, you have to accept punishment, which has much to do about the nature of life itself. Well, one of the things that is really interesting about the world of boxing, at least so far as I perceived it, is that besides beating the hell out of each other in very skillful ways, for the most part in the aftermath, the guys, and I guess the gals too, within that scenario, really do love each other, just like warriors tend to embrace each other in the aftermath of war. You know, politicians don't, but warriors do, because there's a certain kind of purity of intention, just to win. Win what? Win something to do about a kind of a positive holding on humanity. And if you've won and the victor acquiesces, then your common humanity is then felt together. The way I started on this project of the boxing was by having an assignment to photograph Jimmy Jacobs, who was at that time Mike Tyson's manager. Customato, Mike's adopted family and then trainer and whatnot, had died, and Jimmy had taken over the reins. Jimmy was a great businessman and a great developer of fighters and also of all kinds of entrepreneurial essences. And the magazine was Manhattan Inc., and it was a business magazine. I went up to Catskill, New York to meet with those guys and start photographing. And I photographed Jimmy and with his hat on and his hat off and his this and his that and so on and so forth. And there was Mike Tyson way before he was champion. He was an incredibly gentle, massive rock of a young man. But in photographing, I found myself oddly familial. Inside the ring, as soon as I jumped inside the ropes and such like that, I found myself to be absolutely comfortable, as if I belonged there. And it started right there. I didn't follow Tyson in an opportunistic way to see how he would become champion. I just followed boxing. I was more interested, not necessarily in the trajectory of Mike towards being champion and Jimmy's ambitions for him. I was more interested in the vast enterprise that so many young people who find themselves powerless in many different ways find their way to be powerful in a very specific way. Each of us, if we exist in the moment at all, seek to make that moment meaningful. And we seek to find out what it means to be the other within their clothes, within their skin, within their thrust. And if we seek that way, we seek on. If we don't, we seek not at all.